By this time tomorrow, the Boston Celtics could be NBA champions. There's a few things they need to do to make it happen. There's a few things that need to go right. And there's a couple of things that need to go wrong for Dallas. Now, coming into this game, it's off the back of a tough game 4 loss. The Mavericks just upped their game with their backs against the wall in a win or go home situation. Nobody wants to get eliminated from the postseason on their home floor in front of their own fans, especially when the winner is going to be crowned as the NBA champs, right? They had every reason to be overmotivated for that game. They had every reason to find a way to win. And the Celtics were probably pushing things a little bit more than what they usually would. Maybe they felt a little bit jittery. Maybe their egos took part, so they wanted to be a bit more ISO heavy. And then once the shots don't fall, it bleeds into the defense. Once you're getting pounded on the boards, it bleeds into the offense. It's kind of like a perfect storm. Game 4 was just put it in the books, forget about it, just flush it, move on, because this is game 5 today. And there's a lot that the Celtics can do to put themselves in position to win. And look, this is the same Celtics team that dominated the first 3 games. There's a reason we came into game 4 expecting it to be a sweep. And that was probably not the right mentality for anybody, because the Mavericks are a good team. There's a reason they're where they are. The backcourt of Luka and Irving is just ridiculous when it's clicking. Derek Lively is a really impressive rookie. Of course, for the Celtics fans, this needs to be done today. You don't want to go back to Dallas and with the Mavericks having some momentum now, being 2 up and then playing back in front of their hometown crowd to even the series. Yeah, forget that. That's not for me. It should not happen. There's too much talent on this Celtics team, whether Porzingis can play or not, for this to go any further than 5 games. Wrap it up, start planning the parade, get the duck boats ready. People can travel into Boston. Everyone can celebrate, right? Of course, Dallas ain't going to want that to happen. They're going to want to make sure that they're pushing it back to game 6 in Dallas, where they want to try and even up the series. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to do look at 3 different ways the Celtics can improve to secure a win and just end this series, be done with it, move into the summer, let guys get ready for their Team USA duty, let other guys go on their vacations, plan your parade, get everything sorted, right? Now, if you all subscribe to the Celtics Chronicle newsletter, if you're not, there's a link below. I sent out a little note yesterday saying, hey, we're doing a mailbag. If anybody wants to throw some questions in there, we can do that. I did that quite late in the day, so people are still putting questions in there now. But I'm going to kick that can down the road to Wednesday, where we hopefully in the off-season content, anyone that asks questions for today, what I'm going to do there is I'm hopefully going to answer them in this video now. With that being said, let's dive in. So 3 things that I think could really change the game for the Celtics. And it's not so much that it's stuff we haven't seen before. It's stuff that was missing in game 4, right? So this is stuff that the Celtics have been good at all year, good at all postseason. They just kind of vanished and no one knew why, right? So the first one has to be rebounding. They got outworked on the boards. We're not even talking a little bit. I mean, they got mauled on the glass. And when we're saying mauled, I'm talking by 21 boards. The Celtics pulled down 31 rebounds compared to the Mavericks 52. 21 rebounds more than what Boston did. That's a joke. That cannot happen under any circumstances for any reason whatsoever. Derek Lively had a game high of 12. For Boston, it was Jason Tatum with 5. That's low for Tatum. He's usually around that 7 to 8 board range. Usually throughout the postseason, it's been closer to 10, double a night type of guy. Al Horford needs to be better at crashing the glass. You've got Jaylen Brown, who's athletic enough to get up and secure some boards. Drew Holiday is one of the better rebounding guards in the NBA. A lot of it, in terms of controlling the tempo and controlling the flow of the game, starts on the defensive glass. If you can limit teams to 1 offensive possession, get the ball and push the pace, and you can do that consistently, you're now setting that tempo, not them. They're playing Celtics basketball, and you can slow it down, you can push the ball, you can hit your early pitch aheads to get into your transition plays, your 21 actions, your drag action, your Oklahoma, whatever it wants to be. You can flow into that once you control the tempo of the game. So when you're constantly being beat on the glass, you're giving up offensive board, you're just giving up second chance options, which kick back out into a secondary half-court action. It's just a nightmare. There's too much going on for you to even have a consistent chance of containing the ball and controlling the game. So that has to be the primary focus coming in. How do we keep Derek Lively off the glass? How do we stop guys crashing in? How do we get more offensive rebounds without giving up our transition defense? Where's the balance there? Do we allow guys to leak out back toward on defense so we can get some transition plays, or do we want to crowd the paint and box out higher up the floor? It's going to be a mesh of both. It's never an absolute, especially at this level. There's always going to be, well, in this instance, this is what we want to do. If we've got Derek Lively boxed out around the elbow, maybe we don't mind Drew Holiday or Jaylen Brown leaking out to receive that early pitch ahead and just to get downhill early and pressure the rim. And then you can either kick it out if the defense gets back and collapses, or you can just finish. There's always going to be option A, option B, option C, and you can just iterate through them until you find what's working. But rebounding has to be the main focus here because you've got absolutely destroyed. It's been an area where you've been quite strong all year. And I get it. Kristaps Porzingis isn't there. You're losing your best big, your best rim deterrent, shot deterrent, best shot blocker. And now you're trying to have to send an extra body to the ball. You're trying to be more compact around the middle because you've got to worry about the lob threat that comes from Dallas. You've got to worry about the explosiveness of Lively. You don't want Luka penetrating consistently, but if you collapse too early, you're giving up the kickouts where he can be a killer as a playmaker, just finding open shooters everywhere. So there's a lot to worry about. And one thing that the Celtics have done well in games 1, 2, and 3 is pre-switch. They've cross-matched. So when you're cross-matching, you'll put like a Drew Holiday onto a Derek Lively, and then you'll have, I don't know, like a Tatum or a Horford guarding Luka. So when the pick and roll comes, bang, Luka's dealing with Drew, but now you've got Horford on Lively, and you've got someone rotating over to tag the roll. You can box out higher up the floor, and now you don't have to worry about rebounds while you still got one of the best on-ball defenders trying to contain Luka's drive, and you've got guys digging in, but you're not sending two at the ball, right? So you're pressuring it, you're keeping everything compact, but you're not over-committing defensively so that you're leaving somebody open. Maybe there'll be a scramble if there's a deep dig and Luka spots it quickly and get the ball out of his hands. That's the problem when you're playing guys with elite processing speed. They're going to see things quickly. They're going to make really quick decisions. Jason Tatum does the same thing for the Celtics and he puts defenses in a bind. So you have to live with that. It's the NBA Finals. There's going to be some elite plays made. And sometimes it's just going to be, man, we just got to tip our cap, rotate a bit better and try and figure it out. But that rebounding has to be key because there's just too many knock-on effects that has, right? If you're getting smashed on the glass, now you're probably not as you're a bit more tentative when you're trying to shoot on the perimeter on offense because you want to be able to get back and send more bodies into the paint. So you're not as free-flowing, you're not as confident. You're getting smashed on the glass, it's secondary points, so there's more possessions for Dallas than there is for you. More possessions means more chances. It sucks, but it's just the way it is. It's a very basic adjustment. Figure out ways to rebound better. And that leads us on to the second point, right? And the second point is quite simple. Don't blink. Don't keep sending two to the ball. Because when you do that, you're playing into the Mavericks' hands. That's what Dallas wants you to do. They want you to send doubles and triples at Luka or at Kyrie. That's when the lob plays open up. That's when they flow into their Finland action. It's when they start pressuring you. So you pick them up higher up the floor, but you send two at them around the the half court line. Boom. We'll throw the lob in. And you saw the Celtics get cooked with 2 or 3 of them in game 4, and that's not what you want. You want to stay true to your defensive principle. Guard man to man and send help, right? And when you send help, send it as gap help, nail help, big, funnel. If you need to ice on a pick and roll, do it, but recover quickly. Show them recover. Or if you're in drop and you're sending help towards gap help, that's fine, but make sure that when you do so, you're still zoning up the man you're helping off of so you can recover quickly. When you send 2 at Luka or at Kyrie, their processing speed is too good. They spot passes too quickly, and they're very talented at making those passes. Or they're just going to cook you and try and split the defense and split. If they split you, now you've got 2 guys in the rear view that are going to try and contest. You've got a guy wide open and somebody rotating over, and everything's fucked. It's not what you want. It's definitely not ideal. And the reason the Celtics were so dominant in games 1, 2, and 3, and it progressively got less dominant as Dallas made adjustments. But the reason they were so good at holding Dallas to under 100 in the first 2 games, especially, is because they weren't sending to, they weren't blinking. They were sticking to their pre-switch. They were cross-matching. They were going man-to-man, throwing some zone. But for the most part, it was, yo, we're going to guard you straight up, and we're going to rely on our help defense and our ability to recover back to our man to try and slow you down and take away all the little extras that you guys do, right? Like the lob pass is a major part of the way Dallas plays. It just is. Luka's late lobs, if you do, that's the terminology that's kind of like late lobs, right? Where Luke penetrates off the pick and roll or penetrates off the dribble, roars a crowd, goes up like he's going to shoot, and then at the very last second, it's a little float pass for a Derek Lively jam or for somebody that's cutting in, Josh Green, whatever. And the defense is screwed because they're defending a shot. And Luka just turns that shot into a little float pass towards the rim. Somebody just goes up and yams it down because there's so much attention on Luka and Kyrie is spacing on the weak side. So you're really spread out, and all of a sudden there's a lane there and there's no rim protection because the rim protector can't protect from the shot. So you need to stay really glued in at like, yo, Luka's penetrated. That's cool. We've got a guy in front of him. We've got a guy from the wing digging in, pressuring that ball. And we're going to live with that because we know that we've taken away the lob threat because somebody's tagged the roll man or there's weak side help that's waiting for a cut that can rotate over and tag that cut and take it away. So we're going to force Luka to beat us. And if you're doing that on every possession, forcing Luka to beat you, forcing Irving to beat you one-on-one, and you're taking away all the other weapons around them, they're never going to score enough points to be able to beat you. But more importantly, you've got bodies around the rim. You've got bodies in your defensive structure that when that ball goes up, you can turn, box out high, and then the rebounds are more than likely going to be accessible for you. Not every time. Sometimes you just get an unfriendly bounce. It's going to go over your guy. Someone's going to grab it. Shit happens. That's the game. But for the majority, the more you can play the percentages, play the advantages, get yourself in a good position to control the box out, get the ball, and not keep sending 2-3 guys at a star that's also an elite playmaker, the more opportunities you're going to have again to control the tempo. And that has to be the play, right? So when I say tempo, I'm talking about the actual speed of the game. For me, pace is all about decision making. How quickly are you making reads? How quickly are you choosing when to shoot, dribble, or pass? Tempo is how quick are we getting up and down the floor? And you control that by controlling the glass. You control that by controlling your defensive structure and not letting the offensive guy manipulate you. That's super hard when you're coming up against Luka and Kyrie. Not easy at all. I mean, a big part of why Dallas even won game 4 was specifically because they were getting everybody involved. Luka was making reads, and then people were attacking on secondary actions, third side action, and they were spraying the ball around. They were trusting each other. That's why you have Lively with a double-double. It's why you have Jaden Hardy with 4 assists. It's why you have Irving gets 6, Luka gets 5, Dante Exum goes for 10 points. There's just the ball's moving because the Celtics are playing the type of defense Dallas wants from them. They're not playing their defense. Finding ways to stick to what works while also pre-switching. And if they're attacking your pre-switch, finding ways to scram guys out of there early, that's going to be key. It has to be key because you're a better defensive team when you're not committing 2 or 3 to the ball. The Celtics haven't done that all year. So seeing them do that and fall into that trap, that was uncharacteristic. And that's why I think that maybe the pressure got to them a little bit where they were playing in Dallas, what was on the line, winning a championship via a sweep at that. I think that that was a very big factor. And then you have Luka playing really well. Kyrie's found ways to manipulate the defense. Everybody else is playing their role. It was just tough. Find it. You've got to stick to your defense. If they're attacking your pre-switches, don't pre-switch. If you are pre-switching, have that third switch ready so you can switch out again, cross-match a bit more, counter their counter, find ways to put them back in a tough situation. If they're trying to hunt guys in the pick and roll, don't hide them. You don't need to, as long as you've got that next low help line guy who can rotate over and then kind of peel switch, you're going to be okay. And that brings us to the third point, right? And that's on the offensive end. Same thing. Stick to your principles. Don't go ISO too much. Don't try and ram the ball to the rim when everybody's collapsing because you know you've got guys open. And one of the things that makes the Celtics such a good team is their willingness to attack second side, secondary, tertiary actions. Where you drive, you kick, the next guy drives, somebody else cuts. You kick to the cutter. If the defense rotates over, you spray it back out and you wait until that gap forms. And a lot of people will point to the isolation numbers for Boston, and that's fair. The Celtics do isolate quite a bit, and taking that away would be ridiculous because of the talent they have. But what I want to push back with, and I looked at this in a recent newsletter post, was not all isolation possessions are made the same, right? This isn't James Harden isolation. This isn't Luka Doncic isolation. The Celtics isolate when they forced a mismatch, when they ran an inverted screening action with Drew screening for Tatum, or when Tatum screened and then kind of ducked into a high post up around the elbow and got the mismatch as well because the switches occurred. So now he's posting up on a guard, and then he's going to either spin off you, he's going to face up and take you off the dribble, bully you down low. Those isolations can happen. What can't happen is, hey, we're going to pass Tatum the ball. He's going to go into a dribble package, and then he's just going to drive into just a ton of guys collapsing and try and draw the foul. That's not the version of Tatum that wins games. It's not the version of Brown that wins games. They can score like that, and you might get a win like that, but that's not what this Celtics offense is about. When you get that mismatch, drive it, wait for the collapse, kick it because you know someone's open. And if you've got the mismatch and the collapse doesn't come, do your thing, bully your way to the rim, Euro step, pull back, whatever you need to do to get that shot off, as long as it's a quality shot, go for it. Throw your inverted guys down back into the dunker spot. It was very rare we saw Drew and D White kind of playing in the corners, because one thing that the Celtics did well in games 1, 2, and 3 was they were like, fine, you want to keep Kyrie and Luka on, sorry, Derek White and Drew Holiday. That's cool. We're going to place those guys in the corners. And now your rim protection are your two smallest, worst defenders. Okay, we've manipulated you now. So now we're going to play like an inverted 5-out where our smalls are in the corners, our wings are on the slot/wing. And then we've got the big 5 playing the delay. And he can just make reads all day. You can swap the big out with Jason Tatum, put the big on the weak side flat, draw the defending big out of the paint, because now he's got a guard up to guard that slot 5, and then it's a problem there too. So it's about committing to the way you play on both sides of the ball. If you're going to commit to having a 5-out, that's fine. But if they're trying to load up on the ball, put your smalls down in the corners the way you were. Have Drew Holiday in the dunker spot, make Kyrie have to try and defend at the rim. Have Derek White down there, make Luka Doncic have to step up and take drives and tire him out. Make them have to work. That's what you did in the first 3 games, and it's not what you did in game 4. It's a change that has to happen, and it's not a difficult change to make. None of these are difficult changes to make. Rebound. You're a good rebounding team. You've done it all season. You've done it all postseason. Do it again. One more time. Defend. Stick to your defensive system. Again, you've done it all year. You've done it all postseason. Do it one more time. Execute. Talk. Rotate. If they're going to counter you, counter their counter. Adjust on the fly. And this is one of the biggest questions for me coming into the postseason. And I spoke about this a few weeks back, was you've got 2 types of coaches, right? And for me, once you're good at both of them, you're in that like elite level coaching. You've got coaches that are excellent at making game-to-game adjustment. John Mazzulla is excellent at making game-to-game adjustment. You have some coaches that are excellent at making in-game adjustments. Who's a good example? Let's think. Mark Dagnall is good at in-game adjustments. And then you have coaches that are elite at both. Your Greg Popovich's, your Eric Spoelstra's, that can make game-to-game, but they can also make those adjustments in-game. And that's where we need to see Mazzulla kind of thrive now. Like, hey, yeah, we know that they're going to counter our pre-switching. But this is the counter we're going to put into place to punish them when they try and do that. But when they adjust midway through the game, Mazzulla needs to be like, well, I've got this in my back pocket. Let's make this adjustment. And he needs to recognize it early and be willing to make that change. Because when you do that, you put in Dallas back on the back foot. They need to try and explore how to fix or overcorrect or whatever it needs to be to find their counter to your counter's counter. You know, it just becomes this chain reaction. So that's going to be like a bonus question, really. How well can Mazzulla adjust on the fly under this pressure? The Garden's going to be loud. There's a lot of expectations on everybody's shoulders. There has to be. It's a championship. Those are my 3 keys to this game, right? And just to go back over them, rebound, stick to your defensive kind of structure, your system, and get back to what works on offense. Drive, kick, drive again. Trust your secondary drives, trust your tertiary drives. Swing the ball side to side. First side action, second side action, third side action. Maybe we kick it for a 4th side action on a catch and shoot because the defense is overloaded. Draw 2, make them do to you. Make them do what they're trying to do to you. Draw 2, draw 3, make the read, drive, kick. Once you get everything clicking like that and you're playing the Celtics basketball that made you the best offensive team in the league, the second best defensive team in the league, the best net rating in the NBA, the most dominant postseason team in the league this season. Once you're doing all of those things, your chance of winning goes exponentially up, regardless of whether Porzingis is on the floor or not. If he is fantastic, your mismatches are better, your spacing's better. There's more opportunity on pick and pops. There's more opportunity on post ups. Rim deterrence there. It's very tough to try and drive the lane and shoot when you've got a 7'2" Porzingis kind of standing there with his arm up. If he's not there, that's okay too. You're 10-2 in the postseason without Porzingis. You've won 10 of your 12 games without KP in that rotation. You can do one more. That's all it is now. It's one more win. You don't want it to go to game 6 because then Dallas has got momentum. They're heading back home. They've won 2 on the road, and they're going to want to try and even it up in front of their own fans. You don't want it going to a game 7 where it's shit, whoever wins, wins, and now we've got Luka playing at his best. Close it out today. Close it out in front of your own fans at the Garden, end the season, and start getting ready for your Olympic duties, your holidays, most importantly for your parade. And we'll be back here tomorrow talking about what we saw from the game, some thought, and hopefully celebrating a win. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you're wondering who I am, my name is Adam Taylor. I cover the Boston Celtics for SB Nation, USA Today, and obviously the Celtics Chronicle. Everybody have a blessed day. Peace.